A co An interesting question I get every now and then is, what's the deal with Lauren's spear in the Towers of Light series? There's no spear in the Armor of God. And I think I mean, it's a fair question, right? Like if I'm trying to do a series of books that are sort of allegorical, pointing back to the Bible, that I actually have a title in the series called Armor of God, that you know it would be very accurate and precise as to what's in the Bible, right? And there isn't a spear mentioned in the Armor of God, like in that passage. And so I guess the first thing to say is this is an allegory, so I have the kind of right as the writer to take some creative liberty here and there. But specifically with the spear, I was trying to do something very intentional that is also consistent biblically. And so I have to kind of take you back to King David and his being chased by Saul. There was a point in that conflict between David and Saul where David sneaks into Saul's camp and he takes his spear, and he could have killed Saul with it. Like he could have killed Saul with his own spear, but instead he goes out and shows, raises the spear up and says, "Saul, could have killed you, but I'm loyal to you. I didn't do it. Let's reconcile." And they did. For a period of time they were reconciled. And so that's really what I'm doing with the spear. While it's not listed in the Armor of God verse, this spear represents reconciliation. And so if you look at what the spear does in the story, there are uh, people who are affected by the darkness. They're people that have been corrupted and caught up in evil. And if they're hit with the spear, that gets knocked out of them. And so that evil corruption goes away. And now they have time to reconsider or reconcile with others to come back into the fold. Now, I think, and so that's kind of the allegory or the idea behind that spear and why it's a spear in here. Because the other thing just boiled down to, so that's the kind of allegorical reason why it is what it is, and it does what it does, right? It's trying to represent that reconciliation that happens when we sort of abandon the ways of the world and are joined with Christ. But then the other thing is it just turned into kind of a style thing at a certain point because the kids in my family had different things going on with them, and it made sense to have them have different things, and there just wasn't another weapon listed in that verse, and so that made it kind of complicated as well. That being said, if you look throughout the story, I also try to pick up as much of the armor as possible, and so we end up with the boots of the gospel of peace. We end up with the um, different pieces of the armor doing different things. And so again, it's kind of an odd thing. I realize it's not exactly what's in that verse, but I feel like when you understand where it was coming from and what it does in the series, it's actually kind of a nice allegory, and it's something that now that it's something you can throw back to your children and say, "Hey, did you notice in this verse this isn't in there? Where do you think this spear came from?" And have a conversation about David and Saul and reconciliation. So anyway, hope it's helpful. Keep asking those questions. I love to hear them, and I'm happy to give you info as to what's going on in the series.